All right, thank you all for coming back. I think we're going to get started again. As Doreen said, before the break, we're now getting into the important part of our program today, which is talking about how we develop the mechanisms to raise public awareness about the challenges that we have, both as a community, but also as researchers, scientists, and caregivers. So from the broader awareness as well as professional awareness about the problems of diabetes and diabetes-related eye disease, but then also how we use the power of if you excuse me, celebrity and influencers in helping us not just raise that awareness, but create a sustainable fund development program. And to assist me, in that, I have the great privilege to be aligned with Eric and Susan Carlson, who started out in Hollywood at Creative Arts Agency. Eric was the head of television for quite a number of years, packaged about $2 billion worth of deals for his clients when he was there. He and Susan, I think, got the bug for social impact quite a number of years ago, and so spun out of their roles as agents and producers and created what's called CK&D, which is a social impact, social marketing, cost-related marketing agency, which is one of the most successful in the industry. I mean, their clients include the UN Foundation and PBS and the American Heart Association and Alzheimer's Association, Easter Seals, Elizabeth Dole, WebMD, and others. And in that role, they were able to create compelling stories that help promote understanding of purpose. And they've recently sold their interest in CK&D and went out to create a small boutique shop to help organizations like ours connect with the Hollywood community and tell their stories in ways that will help generate both awareness and funding support. So I'm grateful to both Eric and Susan, and I'm going to invite Eric, to the stage to introduce the rest of our guests. Eric was the one who introduced me and us to our fiduciary and fund development partner, the Entertainment Industry Foundation. Eric is going to introduce the team from EIF.
Thank you. So indulge me for a second. I'm going to sit here in the chair. I'm having knee surgery when I get back to LA in a couple of days, so it's just a little bit better. We're in the home stretch, so you get to put your laptops down, close your laptops, put your pencils down. We're going to have a conversation, and I hope an enlightening and kind of fun conversation, and we encourage you to ask questions. We're going to talk for about a half hour. The people that are coming up on the panel are some of the most inspirational people you will ever meet. So I'll introduce them and we'll get started. So first is Nicole Sexton. Nicole, you want to come up? She's the president and CEO of the Entertainment Industry Foundation since 2017. Before joining EIF, Nicole was the chief of staff of the Central Park Conservancy. Nicole also established the Feed Foundation and served as the Feed Foundation's first executive officer. And I realized I don't have my glasses on to read.
Screens are really bright.
Yes, they are.
Screens are really big.
Brian Gott, my good friend, Chief Innovation Officer and Head of Industry Relations for the Entertainment Industry Foundation. Brian spent 12 years at Variety, which is the leading publication inside the entertainment business, as its publisher. So Brian has served both roles in the nonprofit space and a very high pressure job in the profit space in Los Angeles. Brian received the UN Foundation's highest honor, the Global Leadership Award, for his role in mobilizing the entertainment industry to use its collective resources to support the UN Foundation's charitable efforts and campaigns. Monica Oxenreiter is the VP of Content at Close Concerns, a blog and newsletter dedicated to the diabetes community. Monica was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in 1995. She's been a passionate advocate and communicator for the equity in those suffering from chronic conditions from diabetes. So we're going to start off with something a little bit different. I think a lot of you know that, I don't know what picture is up, okay. A lot of you know that Robert was the executive producer of an incredibly beautiful award-winning documentary called Being Mary Tyler Moore. So we're going to show the whole documentary. It runs about 3.5 hours. So I want you to get comfortable. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So it runs about 2 minutes. Well, we're going to show a clip of it. And there's a reason that I wanted to show a clip, and especially at the end, pay close attention to the end. It kind of leads us into what we want to talk about today. Okay?
Was the wife you played kind of an idealization of the American wife? There is no such woman. Most of them are wretched nags.
Yes, I think we all have our moments. Laura Petrie broke down and cried. She was nasty and short-tempered. And she was also sweet and soft, and she was many things.
Oh, no. I think she was sort of a strained idealization of the American woman, as she thinks she is, but they had no connection with reality.
Mary Tyler Moore was America's sweetheart.
Hardly anybody knows comedy like she does.
She was just masterful, but she was also incredibly inventive.
It's just that I couldn't go to a party knowing my son was on the verge of being sick.
Carl Reiner saw some spark of humor in me, and he started writing for me to be funny.
She was on the side of risk-taking.
Her morphing into Mary Richards was such a feminist statement.
Mary Tyler Moore Show hired the most women, and it changed the language of television. Women speak differently, and we have different ideas, and we have different stories.
May you have the pleasure and joy working with Mary Tyler Moore.
You were kind of locked up. The image on the screen never matched the real Mary.
She was no stranger to adversity.
I had a miscarriage, and when I was in the hospital, they discovered that I had diabetes.
When Richie died, that really changed her.
Just because you have a smile on your face doesn't mean you're not ready to go to battle.
I believe in tomorrow. I believe that things that are painful will not be as painful in some time. It's not the end of the world if I'm not perfect.
Mary spoke to all of us. Women could have careers, could stand on their own 2 feet.
Mary, we love you very much.
Her 7 Emmy Awards, her 3 Golden Globe Awards, and her Academy Award nomination are only the beginning of the story.
I think she was meant to spark fire with a very delicate match.
Women are, or should be, human beings first, women second, wives and mothers third. It should fall in that order.
So some of you probably know this, or maybe you don't. Being Mary Tyler Moore won the Critics Award Association for Best Documentary 2 days ago. So it's a huge honor. So Robert is very modest about this, and so it is also nominated for an Emmy Award. The Emmys are coming up in January, and the Critics Association Award is usually the precursor for the Emmys, so we think that it'll win an Emmy, and we'll talk a little bit about what the effect that this movie has had. But I want to talk a little bit about Mary. So I want to level set, so there is a bit of a perspective about Mary Tyler Moore and how she was perceived in our business and her long-lasting legacy. So she was not just an actor, an award-winning actor. She was a producer, humanitarian, but she ran a studio. And so I was fortunate enough to work the last 40 years in the entertainment business. My wife as well. She grew up in the entertainment business. Her mother was a prominent television producer for a crazy man named Chuck Barris, who did The Dating Game and The Newlywed Game. So Susan has a very unique perspective about the business. And so we kind of understand something that I don't think Robert even understood, was the long-lasting effect that this woman had. She ran a studio for close to 20 years that was the most prolific studio probably in the history of television. I don't know of any other studio executive that had the run that Mary had. And at the height of their success, between the 70s and the 80s, they had 20 plus television shows on the air. That's never been duplicated. And Mary stands alone with literally Lucille Ball as being a pioneer, a woman pioneer in our business. And you can ask people within our industry, about Mary Tyler Moore. We talk about MTM Vision a lot, and when we get to the work that EIF is doing, they do as well too. And the unanimous response has been, I loved her. I mean, and everybody feels like they know her. So we have been given the task of taking that goodwill and the incredible work that all of you are doing and communicating that to a bigger audience. I want to leave you with one last little thing. So a really good friend of mine, Bill Prady, is the man that created the Big Bang Theory in Young Sheldon. He's an adjunct professor at USC, and Robert doesn't even know this. I don't think I've ever even told Robert this story, at USC in the American Film Institute. And he teaches a semester-long class on the pilot, the first episode of the Mary Tyler Moore, and he is a physicist, and he is Sheldon in the Big Bang Theory. That's really who this man is. And during that semester, he over years of study, he's realized that it's the perfect television show. And he's broken it down and into so many elements of character, story, structure, emotion, and heart, and not to mention comedy. And so he uses Mary's work as an example for young filmmakers and young writers and young showrunners and storytellers for the next generation. So I always thought that was really cool and really interesting that he did it. I want to read you something just very quickly. The Skoll Center at UCLA did a 3-year study into, I'll change the slide here. Sorry. Into entertainment and social impact. It's called SIE. And it was run by a man named Peter Bazans. And I wanted to give you kind of the high water marks of this 300-page study. We won't go into any detail of it, but what is social impact as it relates to entertainment? And basically it is focus on the story. Tell the best story you can to reach an audience. Don't be fooled. There's a misconception that issue comes first, but story drives emotional connection. The next is know your issue. Understand the real world of your story and determine your intended impact from the start. Find the best partners. So I think that's pretty apropos to today. Identify and partner with leading organizations and people working on your issue. And this is a two-part, which is, and I love this part because this is kind of how we base our company on, the companies that Susan and I have run in the past 20-some years, is completely think outside the box. Do come through the back door. Create something that is unexpected, surprising, shocking, entertaining, challenge your audience. And lastly, is the issue is what people care about, but the story engages them for life. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I want to start off with Monica down there at the end. I'm going to work my way around. Okay, and this is. She's taking all questions. She's taking all. Okay, so this is a little free form, so I'm going to jump around a little bit. So please indulge me. So I want you to tell us about Close Concerns and its relationship to diabetes.
Absolutely. So hi everyone, I'm Monica Oxenreiter and I work for Close Concerns. Close Concerns is a news organization and essentially we cover everything about diabetes and obesity in our daily newsletter that goes out to 10,000 healthcare teams and ideally people would read it every day, and if they read it every day, the goal is that they would know everything that they need to know about what's happening in diabetes and obesity. So if you could only read one newsletter or one piece of news each day, if you read Closer Look, which is our newsletter, the goal is that you would know everything that's happening in the landscape. And so that includes daily news, that includes conferences like this, we'll write up reports, and we'll do interviews with people in the space about what's happening and what's breaking news, what's important, what's up and coming. And we try to keep our competitive landscapes up to date as well so people can review that and know what's happening in the world.
Can you talk a little bit about the reach
of the course.
And how you get to, to that audience?
Yes, so our newsletter is sent out by email, and our reach is, we have about 10,000 teams subscribed to our newsletter. And we try to keep in touch with them and maintain all of our subscribers and make sure that people are getting what they need. And a lot of our outreach is run by our director of sales, who makes sure that anyone who might be interested in subscribing has the opportunity to do so.
Great. So, Nicole, what is EIF? For most of the audience probably doesn't know what EIF is, so tell them what the organization is.
EIF is the Entertainment Industry Foundation, and you are not alone. EIF happens to be the 32nd largest nonprofit in the country that no one's ever heard of. So, and that is, it was by design. That is because we lead with our brand properties, if you will. So efforts like Idol Gives Back, Stand Up to Cancer, Hope for Haiti, One Hand, One Heart, Defy Disaster, Delivering Jobs. Those are all actually one organization running all of those different campaigns, initiatives, and telecast, and that is the Entertainment Industry Foundation. A big part of what we do is place what is remnant media, and Brian will go into more detail, but there is an awful lot of media opportunity through our collaboration and our board's access. Our board is comprised of leaders for all the major networks, studios, and agencies. And together they provide us with these resources and assets. So a big part of what we do is place educational messaging and media, using remnant media to elevate causes, especially when there's urgent need. And that's why you've never heard of us. We were started in 1942 by Sam Goldwyn and the Warner Brothers. Following the war, there was a need for Hollywood and the entertainment industry to respond in some way. So they came together, strange bedfellows across the table, and started a war bond effort. It was so successful, and there was so much enthusiasm in the entertainment community for what they had been able to accomplish together that they decided to create something, and they created what was known as Permanent Charities. It was rebranded in the 80s to become the Entertainment Industry Foundation, and that's another reason we don't lead with the Entertainment Industry Foundation, because who's going to give money to Charlize Theron? So we lead with our brands, and we lead with cause, and we have the extraordinary opportunity and access to these assets that are changing lives and creating opportunities for investment, engagement, understanding, just plain awareness. And it's a pretty interesting place to work.
Brian, can you talk a little bit more about your partners at EIF and kind of the work that you do specifically with the organizations and the reach they have?
For sure. First, I just have to say this is such an honor to be in this room. It is the most exceptional group of human health professionals I've ever had the pleasure of being in a room with. So thank you for the work that you do. My family has not yet been touched by diabetes, but to know that so many people are coming together in an effort to find a cure is heartening. And so it's a real privilege and pleasure to do our part to help support the incredible research and data and analytics and that you are doing every day as your day job. So thank you. So my name is Brian Gott, and I look after the content creation component of what we do for our partners. So in addition to the programs that Nicole mentioned, like Stand Up to Cancer and Defy Disaster, we represent 40 individual foundations, largely celebrity-driven. So the philanthropic, as the fiscal sponsor. So the philanthropic efforts of people like Charlize Theron, George Clooney, Colin Kaepernick, Cher, Panic at the Disco, and many, many, many others come to us as their partner to help develop their strategies, support their staff, and allow them to be at the front end of the cause and just do the work. So practically what that means in terms of storytelling is twofold. One is deploying media for promotional purposes. So one of my responsibilities is to place about $250 million a year in advertising assets across broadcast television, terrestrial radio, streaming radio, out of home. So out of home is basically everything else. It's everything from billboards and bus shelters to Times Square takeovers or pages in People magazine, the screens that you see in taxi cabs or elevator banks, and everything in between. So our intention is to work with the Mary Tyler Moore Vision Initiative to come up with compelling, interesting, engaging campaigns that support the work that the foundation is focused on to drive in new audiences, to create awareness, to create new donation vehicles, to fund research that will ultimately find that cure. And the other piece of what I do is produce programmed content. So because of the board that we have that Nicole mentioned, which are the program presidents and CEOs of all of the content providers, we have this incredible ability to get inventory to broadcast shows. And what that means is we will go to our board for something like Stand Up to Cancer or a program we did called Graduate Together, and rather than air it to one outlet, we will air it across 50 networks and streaming partners simultaneously. What's considered a roadblock. It's unique to EIF. It's something that we deploy very sparingly, but it is something that universally we believe is an incredible opportunity for the Mary Tyler Moore Vision Initiative to bring their message to new audiences.
So Brian, why don't you continue? And I'd like to ask all three of you this. What is cause marketing? What is social impact for people?
I mean, I have a, for me, cause marketing is how do you tell important stories at unexpected times? How do you catch it? So I think there's a real disconnect largely in the cause space of, and we'll use cancer or diabetes as a topic, in that oftentimes there's a predefined audience of people who care about it. And you are kind of not engaging the audience that does not yet know that it's something that they should know about, or that they have a connection that they've not yet aligned themselves to. That they may have a friend or a family member or a coworker where they can find ways to socially engage with causes that are meaningful to them in their lives without a direct, obvious connection. So I'm a big fan of telling unexpected stories at unexpected times, and cause marketing is finding those opportunities and doing it really thoughtfully.
Monica?
Yeah, so I think for our perspective from Close Concerns, I think that our mission is to make people smarter about diabetes. And I think in that realm, earlier in the day, we heard a lot about the value of collaboration and consortium. I think my mom actually had some comments on that. And so I think we've heard a lot about how that collaboration can only happen when people are able to understand what they don't know and where they need to grow and learn. And I think that as a field, we still have a long way to go. We've seen today all of the ways that people's lives could be improved if these outcomes were better. So by making people smarter about that and having that information shared in a way that people can hopefully quickly digest what they need to know, I think that's how we would approach it.
Since Brian addressed the marketing side, I'll address the impact side.
Okay.
For me, the impact side is taking the right spokesperson, and in our business that happens to be someone from the creative community, and putting them in the right place with the right messaging and allowing them to open doors and create new opportunities for understanding. So in the case of the Mary Tyler Vision Initiative, the opportunity here is twofold. It's creating more understanding of the cause of finding cures and interventions around the Mary Tyler Moore's Vision Initiative's strategic goals and mission, but it's also to create more understanding and empathy and awareness of diabetes as a whole. I think that there's such a layered opportunity here because of I know that she was your bride, but the kind of global icon that Mary was, she will immediately create the conversation. And the brand of the Mary Tyler Moore Vision Initiative is genius in that it's an immediate door opener. And that's the whole point of using a celebrity spokesperson for cause and marketing, because it's a door opener. It's the conversation starter that really lights the fire and creates the kind of change, whether that change be through revenue generation or through creating new audience opportunities. It's the change maker.
So you guys are approached a lot from organizations to work with them for obvious reasons. So what's the determining factor of organizations that you want to take on. You know, we were fortunate enough when we came to you and you said, yes, we'd love to work with you, and we kind of understood the connection, and then you guys felt a connection with Robert. So when other organizations come, it's for both of you, what are you looking for?
For us, I'm a very simple girl. I'm from the South. 1 + 1 still equals 2 to me. So I ask very clearly, what's the vision? What's the goal? We can't boil the ocean. What do you have a very clear determinant, and how are we going to measure that so that we know from a funding perspective, from a strategic planning and goal setting perspective, from a communications, we're in the servant leadership position. So from a service perspective, how are we going to serve you? What do you want to do? And we do say no quite a bit because people come with great ideas, but the idea has no end game. And so the first and foremost thing is being very clear and determined in the vision. And then secondly, are these achievable, measurable goals that we think we're the best for? And if we think that we're the best resource for you, then we're all in. And we're all in and then some. If we don't, we help people find other homes or opportunities for collaboration.
Got it. So to change gears just a bit, Monica, you know, can you talk a little bit about your own experience with diabetes and how it kind of got you to where you are with Close Concerns and being involved as a media influencer?
Absolutely. So for context, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in 1995, and my older brother was diagnosed 3 years later in 1998. Since then, it's been a family affair. And actually, in 2005, my brother and I were delegates to the Children's Congress through JDRF in Washington, D.C. And actually, Mary Tyler Moore was very involved at that time. And I remember being very inspired by what she said at our congressional hearings. And I remember thinking, wow, that's such an elegant and incredible woman who has diabetes and has had diabetes for such a long time. And I remember that gave me such a model to look up to of someone who was super active and passionate in the space. So since as long as I can remember, I've been very, very involved in trying to raise awareness and help people understand either what the signs and symptoms are. Today's actually World Diabetes Day, which a lot of you probably know, and that's also another way that awareness is really well raised. Then in 2008, I founded and led a nonprofit called Zip the Cure. And the goal was to connect all of the people that I actually went to Children's Congress with and raise money in the space to try to raise $100 in every zip code. There are 42,000 zip codes in the US, so the goal was $4.2 million by asking every zip code for $100. While we raised $100,000 for diabetes research in 2008 and 2009 to 2011, the main thing that I learned is how to approach and market diabetes and get people involved and really passionate about a cause. So from then, had the whole journey of my career, got more into writing, got more into health. I have my bachelor's in biochemistry and then my graduate degrees in public policy and healthcare administration, and that kind of led me back on my path to Close Concerns.
So I've been asked a lot of questions, you know, in the past couple of days, and they relate to a successful campaign that EIF kind of created, and it came out of the EIF offices, and it was Stand Up to Cancer, right? And so it's had a very long life. And can you talk about that a little bit, about the kind of creation and where it got started and how it came together?
Sure. There was a very formidable producer, Laura Ziskin. She produced Pretty Woman, a number of Spider-Man, a number of incredible productions in the 90s and the 80s as well. And she had breast cancer. And she had this cohort of extraordinarily talented, strong, successful women, but none of them knew how to help her. And she said, we're in the entertainment business, we have access to all of these assets. I'm literally dying in front of all of you. What are you gonna do? And so Sherry Lansing kind of led the charge, and EIF, then Permanent Charities, or it had just been rebranded, I guess, was asked to act as a bit of the fiduciary sponsor in the beginning. And as they were conceiving the idea, how do we take our collective power in the entertainment industry and pull it together to shake things up? The brand of Stand Up to Cancer was conceived. EIF then went to its board and created the first roadblock, which Brian mentioned earlier. So every other year, Stand Up to Cancer would hold these telecasts across all major networks and now streaming platforms and shake things up. Use the opportunity and the power of entertainment to take that Jerry Lewis telethon one step further, or maybe a million steps further, by engaging people in the entertainment and then telling the stories of the success. And the goal was to raise enough money to fund scientific teams like the ones that we've been talking with today and the ones we have privilege to be sitting with now, who would come together and do groundbreaking research, get pharmaceutical companies to participate in the production, the telecast experience, which was exciting for them, and get corporations to participate in the telecast production experience, also exciting for them, create opportunities for them to showcase something about what they were working on, and use those monies to continue to fund groundbreaking scientific research. It's interesting because at the time it was really game-changing, but it's exactly what you all are doing today and have been doing. So it's an extraordinary model. It is now in its 17th year. The telecast are every other year. This past year, the telecast was a retrospective of the 7 previous telecasts. And it was beautiful. Brian and I both started at the end of 2017. So for us to see the explosion of Stand Up to Cancer and then how it has evolved and changed through the eyes of the telecast over the years in this retrospective was really interesting. They've raised over $1 billion in research dollars. They have a scientific advisory board that has 6 Nobel prizes, or has won 6 Nobel prizes. They've done some incredible advancements in scientific research that have led to game-changing interventions and opportunities for people who have cancer. One of the more exciting things that they're really doing right now is focusing on using the opportunity and the media access that we have to get more people to engage in clinical trials, particularly in underrepresented communities. We have a very good friend that has a podcast, and he and his wife, he had prostate cancer, and he and his wife have a really kind of straight talk podcast about the challenges and the fear and the questions that no one really wants to ask about prostate cancer, and they have very candid conversations. And so Stand Up is really working closely with Elvin to promote him. He's about to go on the road, so we're getting more kind of creative in how we outreach beyond the telecast. But it really was led by Laura, and its whole purpose and continued purpose is to fund research.
So I want to ask Brian and Monica about because a lot of people have asked, how do you get to those underserved communities? How do you get to those communities of need? And it's a big issue that's come up quite a bit.
So that's a great question. It's definitely something that, in terms of the way the subscription model works at Close Concerns, that's often something that we are constantly thinking about, how we can share this and how we can use this information to help providers access people with either higher impact from social determinants of health or lower health literacy. And I think that while our current newsletter for Close Concerns doesn't necessarily address that, things like the sister organization of Diatribe definitely shoots for an 8th grade reading level to help people access the information in such a way that they can understand it better and have a little bit more understanding of the condition that they might be facing. And I think that we've seen today a lot of discussion on how you can work on recruitment in clinical trials and work on increasing screening in communities that might have less access. And while I think that some of that work was maybe illuminated by the COVID-19 pandemic, I think that there's still a lot of work to do in using things like telemedicine to overcome transportation barriers and having different waivers for costs for people. So that's more of my background from my graduate school work, because I'm really passionate about health equity and making sure that we address outcomes equitably across communities. But it's a little bit trickier to navigate when a lot of our content is aimed at a college-educated user base.
I have another question for you. So I want to ask you this other question first, right? So I was watching, Graduate Together. I've been watching this program, and I've been watching the kind of evolution of what you did. And I was incredibly impressed by the reach and the scope and kind of, you took a very complicated issue and discerned it down to, what inspired me. Can you talk about that a little bit? I mean, we start with Stand Up to Cancer 15, 17 years ago, and then up till now.
Yeah, I'm actually going to answer 3 questions all very quickly.
No, take your time. We still have 20 minutes.
Opinions on all of them. Why we chose to work with the Mary Tyler Moore Vision Initiative? Because we trust you, because we respect you, and because we believe in you. It is as simple as that. We believe that you have set forth a vision that is achievable. We think that we can be helpful, but at the end of the day, it is trusting our partners, that they'll be great partners, and that we are all moving in the same direction. So first of all, there's that. On the how do we reach communities that are hard to reach, being honest with the room here, so the invitation to take advantage of the donated media we have to offer is a special and exclusive invitation for a very small group of people. We probably turn away 100 to 150 partners seeking that inventory every year, because I'm not interested. If we distribute $250 million a year in inventory, I don't want to give 250 partners $1 million each. I want to give 20 partners tens of millions of dollars, because I'm all about creating impact and awareness and being really, really forceful in the market presence that we create for our partners. And in that, I don't mind sharing with the room, this is not a service we sell. This is not something that is an offering that you come and buy from us. This is an asset that we hold, that we give out to partners where we believe the greatest impact will be experienced. So we distribute the national PSAs for the Alzheimer's Association, for the Elton John AIDS Foundation, for AmeriCares and their Ukraine efforts, for Autism Speaks. So really large organizations, we're pushing out their messaging for them. And we have the ability to hyper-geo-target specific communities. So when a partner, Stand Up to Cancer, one of our programs, wants to do a clinical trials call for applications, but they want to do it in very specific communities of underrepresented populations, I can geographically target out-of-home billboard bus bench campaigns in those specific zip codes to reach people in those markets to sign up and take action. If we have a partner like Autism Speaks, who has a percentage of their community that primarily speaks Spanish as their primary language at home, we will deploy a Spanish language campaign for them across 7,000 radio networks in America that are all Spanish language stations. So I just want to put that out there as it relates to the work that this room is doing. You can't be specific enough about your need. That's the best thing that we can get from you in order to then bring the right assets to the table. And then lastly, getting to the Graduate Together. Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't
she knows me well enough to know I forgot number 3. Graduate Together might seem like a disjointed conversation to have with this room, but it's the one I'm most excited about. So Stand Up to Cancer is very binary. There's a disease, you want to raise awareness and money, and you execute a creative idea. For Stand Up to Cancer, one of our very important longstanding partners, Lorraine Powell Jobs and the Emerson Collective, came to us on April 1st of 2020 and said there are going to be XQ, her education initiative, is focused on re-envisioning the high school experience for American youth. And she came to us and she said, there are going to be 3 million high school graduates this year who are not going to get a graduation ceremony. They spent their entire academic careers leading up to a moment that is going to be stolen from them because of a pandemic. What can we do? In the span of 6 weeks, we produced a telecast that aired on 44 networks and streaming partners. It was a celebration of the graduates. It was commencement speeches from Barack Obama and Malala and LeBron James, musical performances from Alicia Keys and the Jonas Brothers, all the things that them kids are interested in. But for us, and this is important for this room, everything we do with the greatest perspective of remaining politically agnostic. Because for us, we don't want to skew to the left or the right. We want to play down the middle and appeal to as many people as possible. And Graduate Together is a great example because it is the only time in either of these organizations' histories where Fox News and CNN ran the exact same piece of 1 hour primetime commercial-free broadcasting to deliver to their audiences because of, I believe, the way that the content was created in a way that was appealing to the full spectrum of the American population. And we did it through a narrative way. So rather than raise money, raise a money effort or call this phone number, we did it in a docu-style experience. We gave each of our partners a special thing to own where they felt like a real vested partner. Not only did we have the 4 networks that gave us primetime airtime in sweeps in May, but we went to Snap, who hosted the official after party. We went to Spotify, who created the official playlist. We went to Giphy, who created the official GIF for the graduating class of 2020. And everybody got to own something special. We created custom content that only they had. And then all of a sudden, they were able to give their audiences something that they couldn't find anywhere else but on their platform. And it resulted in being one of the most watched special event broadcasting moments in 2020, and it reached 22 million people, which from an entertainment perspective are numbers that are basically unheard of these days in terms of single audience viewership. And so as it relates to the Mary Tyler Moore Vision Initiative, taking an idea, an entertaining idea, an idea that an audience will tune into, and introducing an entire new community into the magic and wonder of Mary Tyler Moore and what she is and what she stands for, then subtly educating them on something that they may not know anything about or may know a lot about but don't know how to engage is what our purpose is in partnering with the Vision Initiative.
Yes, of course.
One of the things that we also did that was incredibly cool, because these young people were not going to get that traditional rite of passage, we thought, what extraordinary thing can we do that will be like, wow. So we created a digital yearbook, and it was what we call a Times Square takeover. So for 24 hours, all of these, if you submitted your picture ran through Times Square on this digital yearbook. It was the most extraordinary thing.
You know, I just want to say that because I have an idea about the Mary Tyler Moore Vision Initiative. And we did that in Times Square. All the parent had to do is go to our Snap, who I didn't mention. Snap created the official photo filter. Go to Snap, submit your senior high school photo, and appear in Times Square as a celebration of your success of graduating high school. And by the way, submit that same photo over here to our friends at Freeform, the Disney channel, and you will appear in a ticker tape in the 6 hours leading up to the broadcast that they're carrying. And I look at that and I think, what a great opportunity to do a self-submitted photo experience nationwide that says, I'm the face of diabetes. I'm what diabetes looks like. Like, this is me, and create the same kind of experience where you can kind of break down the stigma of being part of a community over here and normalize the experience for this population that we are trying to get people to better understand.
Got it. Well, we only have a few minutes left, but I want to talk about a couple other things. So I want to talk about sustainable giving for financial support for MTM VI. What you're seeing on the screen now is we are partnered with the Entertainment Industry Foundation as production partners and the Walt Disney Company that own the MTM Enterprises Library, which is Mary's show and Rhoda and all these other shows. So collectively, we've come up with what we think is a great idea to sustain the organization for a long time. It could be a huge profit center for us. Is we are going to do a reenactment of one of the shows. Probably the first episode will be the first one we'll do. The first one we introduced Ted Knight and Mary and Rhoda. So we're going to recast it with contemporary stars. So Jennifer Lawrence will play Mary Tyler Moore, and Jamie Foxx will play Lou Grant, and on and on and on. And Amy Schumer will play Rhoda, and Steve Carell will play Ted Knight. So we've taken that example from a partnership, actually, that EIF has with Norman Lear. A few years ago, Norman did reenactments of All in the Family and the Jeffersons, and they were incredibly successful. Highest ratings on a Wednesday night, I think, in 2 years for ABC at that point in time. So that is something that we are planning to do with the Walt Disney Company that owns ABC, and do it every year and do a different episode with different actors, and maybe move on from the resources of the library to do Rhoda next time and so on. So we're really excited about doing that. We have a partnership with Variety, which is a Penske media publication, one of the biggest publications in Hollywood. They do a Power of Women every year. They have asked us if they can create an award called the Mary Tyler Moore, no pun intended there, but Mary Tyler Moore Vision Award for outstanding excellence inside and outside of the entertainment business. And we said yes, which will be a sponsored event that will be the recipient of that sponsorship as well too. All of you know the Golden Globes, the biggest party in Hollywood, the precursor to the Oscars. People watch it because everybody gets drunk at tables and they want to see celebrities, acting crazy and stuff like that. So they want to do they have a charitable event, and they want us to be the recipient of their charitable event every year, which is a week before the Golden Globes. We have a series of salon events to introduce Robert and the team to people in New York, high net worth individuals in New York, Los Angeles, Palo Alto, Washington, D.C., around the country. So Robert is going to be, traveling quite a bit. And so I want to end so we have just a minute or two for questions afterwards.
Eric, can I say one quick thing?
Yeah,
just
of course.
An invitation to the audience. There's a lot of people here that work for-profit companies that have a bottom line and a business agenda and an end consumer, or many different end consumers. There is a place for companies like that to participate in what we do. And what I mean by that, one quick example. So one of our funds is Kevin Love, the Kevin Love Fund. It's youth mental health. He had a for-profit partner, Headspace, who really wanted to help him perpetuate his message of supporting the youth community as it relates to their mental health and wellness. So this for-profit corporate brand underwrote the production and manufacturing cost of national PSAs. They came in and said, what will it cost to produce a radio spot? Like the actual physical hard production costs. And how much is a television commercial to just produce? And they underwrote the production costs out of their CSR budget and gave those finished spots to me. And we ran them for 12 months. And in 12 months, we were able to secure $29 million of donated inventory for the Kevin Love Fund that A, they could have never afforded themselves, that B, became a tax-deductible contribution for their for-profit company, and C, generated tens of thousands of new constituency members who are now part of the Kevin Love movement. And so there is a place for-profit partners to participate in supporting these nonprofit messages.
Okay, so I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to stay with you for a second. So you shared a story with me that I'd like for you to share with everybody else about a conversation you had with Robert about why you wanted to work with Mary Tyler Moore Foundation and Robert.
Yeah, it's not a long story, it's a very short story, which is, like, as I'd mentioned, my family has not yet been touched by diabetes. I don't have that personal connection that is my motivation to support this endeavor. The reason I support this endeavor is I have spent 25 years in the entertainment industry and know Mary Tyler Moore as an icon of our industry for all the ways that you so beautifully articulated why she's important to the world of entertainment. When I lost my mom at 9 years old, I watched my father for the next 30 years worry about how he can continue the legacy of all the things she wished she would have accomplished. And I watched it come from a place of just real authentic beauty and love and passion. And when I met Robert, I saw the exact same thing. And I watched what Robert has the ability to do using the Mary Tyler Moore brand, where her legacy is going to be so much bigger than just entertainment. It already is. She already has transcended Hollywood. But the legacy that Mary Tyler Moore and the Vision Initiative has in terms of global impact for the work they're doing behind diabetes and finding a cure is very real, and I saw it in Robert's eyes when I met him, and that's the reason.
Okay, thank you. So we want to open it up. If anybody has any questions, we have about 5 minutes left, and we're happy to stay up here and answer any questions if somebody has anything. Anybody? Anybody? Yes?
I think that what this means is it's an amazing blessing to have you involved. But all of you in the audience that are researchers, think of what you can do. So that's the big challenge, and we thank you.
Thanks. I mean, my goal honestly is, the work that the room is doing, the researchers in the room, the things that they're creating. I want to find opportunities to shine the spotlight on that. I want to be telling the world what the people in this room are creating and what they need to finish that work. And so this isn't just a story about Mary Tyler Moore and the Vision Initiative. It's about the partnerships and the constellation around them, where I see a telecast where we are narratively telling stories about the research work being done in the universities around the country and the medical institutions, where people can take great pride in the fact that either their tax dollars are helping fund this work or that they should be writing checks and endowing it themselves. So it's a real testament to the people in this room that that's where the hard work is being done, and it's our job to help make people know about it.
Is anybody else? The lady in the white sweater.
And what I wanted to say is that what I take away from Mary Tyler Moore is that, and this is coming from my perspective of being in the entertainment business for a long time, that what she did was create a team effort to make the best television show, to make the best movie. She wasn't the person that always had to have the main line or the funniest joke, or she put people in the position to have success with her, around her, and she did that before anybody else really in the entertainment business was functioning like that. So what I see here today are a lot of brilliant people that are doing amazing things, but I think what we need to do is do what Mary did and work together in a better way, even if we're coming from, no matter what your point of view is, if we work together, we will help people and make everyone's lives better sooner, and there has to be a way for us all to be compensated for that. Whether it's emotionally, financially, we do need to leave the world in a better place. And the entertainment business has a lot of interesting things about it. But with EIF and my experience, my husband's experience, and people in the room, there's a really powerful, good group of people there that are authentic to what they want to do. But you got to find them. So years ago, maybe some of you'll know Paul Newman. Paul Newman started to do philanthropy before anybody else. And he created things for children to go to camp, and he created Newman's Own to sell products. It all went to charity. Mary Tyler Moore was up there with, those are the only two that really did it, and they did it authentically. They worked really hard. So today, Brian and Nicole work with people like that. They work with people that care. So that's another reason we're lucky enough to be with EIF. Right. And then later on, if you guys want to know who was nice and who wasn't nice in the industry, I'll be happy to tell you. But that's pretty much it. And Mary Tyler Moore is really nice, just so you know.
Anybody? Well, thank you for staying for this session. And we are inspired, and we are grateful to have met so many brilliant minds in this room. And we walk away, with a renewed energy of the work that we do to help you with the work that you do. So thank you. And I'm going to thank Robert and give it back to him.
Thank you, Robert.